Okay, in this next section, what we're going to do is some of the images you've already seen of the sheep, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take those images and we're going to show you where a few of them came from that you haven't seen. Now, remember, the largest church in the world, the Vatican, is a serpent wearing a crown, and in the mouth of the serpent is a big sheep, and the sheep is made up of a bunch of God's children. A bunch of angels are going into the mouth of the serpent. So the food for the serpent is God's angels, God's children. So the serpent is eating the children of God. And the mouth of the serpent also happens to be the female reproductive system, a vagina. So obviously that seems to be the point to which God's children were trapped. They were ensnared, and they're being birthed out into the flesh to where they're getting host bodies that are actually prison suits. And unless they're converted before they die, they turn into food for the serpent. So we've seen that agenda repeat itself now in images that people have drawn of me on repetitively. I've seen other people draw images of other people with the same agenda. Every time I've confronted those individuals, they've turned straight up demonic. So now let's continue, and I'm going to show you a few more of those sheep that you saw previously, where they came from, and then we're going to show you some of the commercials that you saw earlier in the video that were edited in to show you what the outward manifestation of this race of beings is, because they manifest right in front of your face. It's going to be the most fascinating thing you ever see in your life. I guarantee it. It is absolutely mind-boggling. So let's go ahead and build a picture right now. I'm going to build a serpent being. I'm going to build a human that's built out of a serpent. I'm going to do it with a couple pictures. I'm going to take this picture of a serpent, of a cobra, and I'm going to lay it right on top of this image. And I'm going to drop it. So now we have, it's like part human, part serpent. And I'm doing this for your mental perception for the next part I'm going to deliver to you. And now I want you to take a good look at what this serpent being looks like. I want you to look at what a cobra looks like. A cobra has these flared out sides on its head like a hood. I've taken the cobra and I've drug it right here. And there you go. It's like now it looks like a human and a serpent. Now I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to drop it right on the pharaoh. Now you know why pharaohs wore those headdresses. Because they were the serpent race of beings. Okay, the Bible says in Isaiah 30, you cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, says the Lord. And you trust in the strength of Pharaoh and in the shadow of the strength of Pharaoh. Because these guys hide all their stuff in the shadows. James 1 says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, from the creator of heavenly lights, not like them that cast shifting shadows. Okay, so now I built what it would look like to have a human that's a serpent being. Just pretend behind the skin right there is actually a serpent. Okay? Okay, so now let's go ahead and build a puzzle. Previously in the video, I showed you a bunch of images of sheep. I'll just kind of scroll through those very quickly. You saw images that people had drawn of me where they had put, an image of a dead sheep on my head. The one Alex drew, the other one that Marcel drew. I showed you the largest altar in the world is a big image of a dead sheep with its tongue sticking out, and that image is made up of God's angels. And then I showed you that very window that is the entry point of the female reproductive system, the vagina. That same window is the mouth of the serpent, which is the entirety, the cumulative sum of the whole Vatican, which makes a building that is actually a serpent wearing a crown. We all know that the serpent is the devil. Okay. Now, there's a couple images of sheep that I did not explain to you where they came from, and that's what we're going to do right now. And then we're going to show you what those commercials were used for. And because we edited them into the beginning of this video, because I wanted to show you at the beginning this outward manifestation of the serpent race, that you can see it right in humanity. It's right in front of your face. Just whether or not you perceive it or not is the question. Okay, so here we go. Here's an image I showed you that's of a sheep with its tongue sticking out. I'm going to show you, there's the sheep with its tongue sticking out. There's the eye of the sheep. There's the blue teardrop coming out of the eye. There's the ear of the sheep, top of the head, nose, the tongue sticking out underneath the neck. Okay, so there it is. And so Isaiah says, woe unto them who go to great depths to hide their plans from the Lord. Who would that be? Satan, the fallen Satan and his demons. Their plans were to capture God's children in a snare and have them fall and sin against God. So now let me show you what happens, how we discovered the sheep. The Bible says in John 21, Jesus told Peter 3 times, Peter, do you love me? Actually, he called him Simon, son of Jonas. He had already named him Peter back in Matthew 16, which is very significant. But Jesus had died and risen from the grave and come out of the tomb, and he saw Peter, and Peter swam to shore, and Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? He said, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? And Peter responded and said, yes, I love you. And then he said, then feed my sheep. Okay, well, Jesus told Peter after he asked him 3 times, do you love me? He said, Peter, when you were younger, you went where you wanted, but when you're older, you'll stretch out your hands and others will take you where you don't want to go. Jesus told this to Peter to show what kind of death he would die to glorify God. Peter died upside down. Okay, so in order to glorify God, well, I'm going to turn everything upside down. And in doing so, when I turn everything upside down, I'm going to be showing you dead sheep, as a matter of fact. Jesus told Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. And by the way, Peter, your death is going to glorify God. He died upside down. Let me feed the sheep, just like Peter did. I'm going to show you this image of the Virgin right here. Very quickly, it's an image of the Virgin, but when you turn it upside down, just like Jesus told Peter, your death is going to glorify God. When you turn it upside down, it becomes an image of a dead sheep. So I'm showing the sheep the truth now. I'm feeding the sheep. I'm taking an image that was right side up and that it's the Virgin, and in order to feed the sheep, I'm going to turn it upside down and show you, see, Mother Goddess worship is evil and it kills the sheep. Here is an image of the sheep. There's the eye, nostril, lips, tongue sticking out, top of the head to the ears. Very obviously a sheep. Okay, let's do it again. Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? He said a second time. And he said, yes, Lord, you know I love you. He said, then feed my sheep. Okay, so again, I'm going to take an image of Nefertiti from a hieroglyph of Akhenaten. By the way, Akhenaten means worshipers of the sun. That's going to be very significant later. So I'm going to feed the sheep. I'm going to turn this image upside down, and you'll see it's an image of a sheep with its tongue sticking out. Here's the eye of the sheep, the ear of the sheep, top of the head, nose, tongue sticking out under the neck. I'm going to rotate that just a little bit now to make it even easier for your perception. But to see the sheep, all I had to do was turn it upside down. There you go. Very obviously a dead sheep. Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Then he said, then feed my sheep. Okay, so now let me show you where the cannibalistic agenda, the first place in history that the Lord's revealed it to me, is in a hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. This is taken from a National Geographic, April 2001. There it is, Pharaohs of the Sun. And inside this National Geographic is this hieroglyph right there. And I'm going to break this down for you and show you that this is the origin, or this is an exact representation of the cannibalistic system that exists here on the earth. Okay, first of all, I'm going to take this first image. This is from another source. This is not from that magazine. It's the same hieroglyph. The resolution is not as good, but I like it because it's not cut off on the bottom, and I can show you that the cumulative sum of this image is a face. It's also the female reproductive system. Again, so here we have the female reproductive system. We have the ovaries, And then we have the fallopian tube, ovary and fallopian tube coming down to the uterus, cervix, and this line right here between the lips is the opening to the vagina. Now watch carefully. Watch very carefully. This is all the image of a big face. So here is the bottom lip right here. And here is the line between the lips. And here is the top lip right here. Here is the nose right here going up to the eye and the eye. And this is the cheek and the cheek. So the whole thing, the cumulative sum of the hieroglyph is the face of the evil one. That is amazing. The whole thing makes a face, as well as, again, the female reproductive system. Well, this is 1,300 years before Christ is when this was carved. So let me show you what was going on in the mind of the artist. Okay, here we go. Now remember, again, let me build a serpent human being for you. Here's a serpent. I've drug it on top of this. Now it looks like a serpent slash human. I'm going to enlarge that to give you a nice representation. There you go. And then we're going to refine the image, and we're going to turn that. And what's really behind this, what's really behind the skin is that thing I just showed you. And you can see how a serpent turns, obviously, into what a pharaoh looks like. That's why they wore those headdresses, because the headdresses represent the hood of a cobra. That is a serpent being. You cannot see what's behind the skin, but I can. That's the gift the Lord gave me. And I'm going to continue to share that with you in order to prove out the cannibalistic system on the planet. Okay, so let me just look at this real quick. Okay. Obviously cut all that out, Clay. Okay, part 2. So here we go. Let's start with the cumulative sum of the hieroglyph. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the cumulative sum of the hieroglyph and let you see the whole thing in its entirety. And we're going to break it down part by part. I want you to look over here to the right. You'll see that there's a serpent right here going up the queen, the eye of the serpent right there, and the nose of the serpent is right there. Okay. There's a child that's standing in the lap of the queen. That child is actually going into the mouth of the serpent, but the mouth of the serpent is actually made up of the bottom part of the child. I'll show that to you in just a moment. We'll refine it. Here is the queen, that when you turn the queen upside down, it is a dead sheep. And we're going to look at this part right now because right here lies the entire agenda. All the children are being eaten by serpents. The child that's sitting on the lap of the queen right here, I'm going to zero in right now and show you that that child is going into the mouth of the serpent. I chose not to color this part right here green, which would show that the child's body was in the mouth of the serpent. I just colored the legs yellow for your perception, so you can see very obviously that the serpent has the legs of this child hanging out of the mouth. So that child has been devoured by a serpent. All the children in the hieroglyph are being eaten by the serpent because they are all offspring of the serpent and they are all hybrids. Okay, I wanted to show that. Let me show you another image of it where I have not done any coloring on that. You can, if you just look at it, you can perceive obviously that is not a hand, that is a serpent. This has not been altered at all. That is the hand of the queen, and that hand is a serpent, and the legs of the child are hanging out of the mouth of the serpent. Okay. Now, let's build the entire agenda. Okay, Clay, here we go. We're going to start building it. Okay, I think I'm going to work backwards, and I'm going to show you, first of all, I'm going to show you an image of a spirit that's trapped in hell. Here is a profile of that image. The red flames and the yellow flames are right here, and here is a profile of the spirit that is trapped in hell. Now, if you look very closely at the forehead, he's got horns made, and they make flames, and these are all flames. So the spirit is in flames. And that's the eye, and this is the nose, and this is the mouth, the bottom of the chin. You're going to see that that is an image of a spirit that is trapped. The Pharaoh has his feet on top of the door, and there is no escape for that spirit. Hang on, Clay. Let me find that. I'm going to use this. It's the same image from a different source, but I like this because you can see the feet holding down the door, and here is that spirit trapped in hell because he has become part of the system for the cannibalistic system that's being showing the agenda in this hieroglyph of this cannibalistic system. Okay, but there is the image of the person trapped in hell. That's the same as right here. I'll show it to you from another source. This is from the National Geographic, and you can see there is the spirit trapped in hell, and the feet are blocking the door. Okay, and remember, the cumulative sum of this whole thing is the female reproductive system, and it is also the face of the evil one. Okay, now I'm going to back out, and we're going to build the whole agenda. Okay, let's start with the identity of the Pharaoh. Okay, now remember, I just showed you again here in this serpent folder, we built a serpent being. We took a serpent and we dropped it on top of a part human, part serpent, and we dropped that on top of the Pharaoh to give your mind the understanding you need to build this puzzle right now. So here we go. Let's go ahead and show you. Here is the Pharaoh right here. So it looks like a human, but it's not. Inside of the Pharaoh is very cleverly hidden an alien. A serpent being is inside the Pharaoh. Now he looks human, but he's not human. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to show you this picture first. So there you see, I've shown you where the alien is hidden inside the head of the Pharaoh. Here is the eye of the alien right here, this dark patch. There's where the nose, it looks almost like a skull. There's the eye, there's the nose, there's the other eye. Has a frowny mouth like a marionette under the chin down to the neck. Here's the top of the head going to the base of the skull and down the neck. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to let you see this image in a zoomed out capacity. Let's see. Okay. So now I'm going to zoom out. And you can see there's the image of the alien inside Akhenaten. So there is a serpent hidden, disguised by a suit of human skin. But what's really inside him is an alien. Now, let's build the puzzle. Here is an image of sexual penetration. That is a male penis penetrating a female vagina. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out now. And so you can see where this comes from. As I zoom out, you're going to see a woman that's on her knees. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this. Okay, so here is the woman that is on her knees. Here is the top of the head of the woman, this blonde. Think of this as blonde hair. The top of the head right here going down to the hair right here. The eye here in the shadow. The mouth is made by this the shape of the hand right here is the mouth. There's the eye. Here's the top of the head and the hair coming down. Now we'll go up to the penetration. Here's the penis penetrating the vagina, and here's to the buttocks, and then going down to the thigh and the leg. And there is the leg shooting out behind the body of this woman that's on her knees. Here is the hip. Here is the other shadow of the buttocks going down to the back of the hamstring. This is the front of the thigh to the knee and shooting out. She is on her knees, and there is a penetration, sexual penetration occurring. Okay, now we're going to zoom out even further, and now we're going to identify the sexual penetration, who it's from. Okay, so even though it looks like Akhenaten is a human and his neck is made by the shadows right here, what's hidden inside him is this alien, and if you cover up the eyes and the mouth of this alien, it's a scrotum. This is a male scrotum in green, and then the penis I've colored pink, and it's penetrating this female that is on her knees. Now, it looks like, you know, he's human, but he's really a serpent being, that what's really behind the skin is something more like that. That's what's really behind the outward shell that looks like a human skin. So it's really a serpent having sex with this human female. Okay, now the production of that sex produced a child with an elongated skull. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you Akhenaten holding his child. And he'll be holding his child very close to his face. Let's just take a look at the original hieroglyph. There you go. Okay, so Akhenaten has the child very close to his face, and the reason is he's actually stealing his breath. I'm going to show you what this really turns into, but it almost looks like he's about to kiss his own child on the lips, and the creature, which is this hidden agenda, this monster, is really destroying and eating his own child. He's cannibalizing his own child, and I'll show you that in just a moment. There we go. All right. Okay. So, hang on, Clay. Okay, at this point, I've drawn in some parts on what I'd like you to view it in this particular image first. So in the head of this child is a sheep with its tongue sticking out. This is very easy to see. Here's the eye of the sheep right here. This part of the face of the child actually becomes the ear of the sheep right here. I want you to also look at the part that's the mouth of the child that's looking this way. He has very sharp teeth like vampire fangs. Okay, let's look at the sheep. Here's the eye of the sheep. This becomes the ear of the sheep. This is the top of the head coming down to the nostril of the sheep on the far side. Here's the nostril of the sheep closest to us. This is the open mouth of the sheep, and here's the tongue sticking out. Here's the bottom jaw of the sheep. Okay, now I've colored this part in for a reason, because I'm going to show you what it really turns into. So the father is holding his own child, but let's see what it really turns into. When you turn this upside down, the father becomes this creature. He becomes the serpent being, just like I showed you over here. Okay, so this is like a serpent slash human. Right here, this is the same thing. He's wearing an orange turban. Here's his eye right here, his sharp nose right here. His mouth is open like a serpent. His tongue is coming out and going straight to the nostrils and mouth of his own child. He is cannibalizing his own hybrid child, and the child is a sheep, a dead sheep with its tongue sticking out, and it's upside down. This is the identical agenda as the Roman Catholic Church, as the Vatican. It is just in a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years before Christ ever walked the earth. I've just shown you the identical agenda. A serpent eating a sheep, and the sheep is his own child because it's a hybrid. It's a cannibalistic system. So the production of these children is producing more energy for that serpent race. Okay, now I'm going to break down the image of the child for you so you understand. Here is an image of the Pharaoh with the head of his child. I'm going to enlarge that. And you can see that around the edge of the child's head is a dark spot, and that's for a very specific purpose. I've enlarged this and I've meticulously drawn everything in. That is my spiritual gift. The Bible says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, from the creator of heavenly lights, not like them that cast shifting shadows. Okay, this child's head, when you go around the external perimeter of the shadow and the whole thing, it is actually that the whole head of the child is a reptile egg. Let me show you. So here it is. This is I've drawn around the child's head, and it becomes a reptile egg right here. And let me show it to you. Okay, so it becomes a reptile egg, and then I'm going to drag a reptile and put it in that egg. So also, if you, depending on which lines you're looking at, here is an image of a reptile that is in the fetal position as it would be in an egg. Here's the eye of the reptile right here. Here is the eyebrow of the reptile on the far side of the head. This is the nose of the reptile coming under the neck. And here is the back of the reptile, and it's curled around. And it's in the fetal position, and it's got its tail wrapped around it. What's really so amazing is this is also the head of the sheep. This is the eye of the sheep. This is the nostril of the sheep. This is the mouth of the sheep open. It's just perception versus reality. And the Lord God has given me an incredible perception as my spiritual gifting. By the way, before I got saved, I had a sunglass company called Vampires, and our tagline was, "Come out of the darkness, enter the light." And what I happen to be showing you right now is a vampiric system, a cannibalistic system. We'll get to my predestination at the end of this video. Okay, so I'm going to take the reptile and I'm going to drop it right there in the reptile egg right there. Now I'm going to take that whole thing and I'm going to drop it down right here. So now we have, I'm sorry. So now I'm going to drag the reptile into the egg right here. And so now we have an image of a reptile inside the egg. You can see right there. And then I'm going to drag the sheep and drop it in there. And so now you have a dead sheep right here. The child has a dead sheep inside his head. And then he has a reptile that is benefiting at the cost of the dead sheep. You have a new consciousness forming within the head of the child because of the hybridization. So the child is at odds with himself. There's a sheep that's dying, and there's a reptile that's growing. And the child himself is a vampire, because he is now a cannibalistic system. The entire system that has been formed now is cannibalistic. Again, I showed you that the soul of all these children ends up down here, and you can see that the soul is trapped beneath the feet of the Pharaoh, and the soul of the victims is in flames and looks like it's in absolute agony. You're looking at the identical agenda as St. Peter's Basilica. Okay. This is a good representation right here of, this soul that's been trapped down here. I'll enlarge it, and I'll take this image and drag it over there just to show you what I'm talking about. This is a guy that's in flames, and it would be a good representation of the guy that's trapped in hell right there, just because he's in flames. So, yeah, very amazing stuff. And again, every child is being eaten by the parents. One of the children that's sitting in the lap of the queen, that child, the legs are coming out of the mouth of a serpent, which is the hand of the queen. So this child is really going into the mouth of a serpent. And if you were to take a green marker and color this, that would just show that the whole child has been consumed. I just drew in the part to make it very easy for your perception. Okay, now, I believe as far as the hieroglyph goes, we've established the cannibalistic system. The complete agenda is this. There is a serpent being hidden within a human host body that is mating with a human female, and because of the mating with the human female, produced a hybrid child, and inside the head of that hybrid child is a dead sheep as well as a serpent, and there is a new consciousness forming. When you turn that image upside down, the father becomes the creature and is cannibalizing his own child, which is a sheep that has been turned into food. There it is. There's the system right there. And you can say that he is a serpent being, the same as the image I showed you of the Pharaoh. And this is a Pharaoh, Akhenaten. And that is the agenda. Now let's look at another image that you saw. Let's look at another image you saw of a sheep during the earlier presentation, and then we will present the commercials. All right, previously you saw this particular image of a sheep. I drew special attention that this also forms the female reproductive system, that you have the ovary, fallopian tube, uterus, cervix, and opening to the vagina, and it is all superimposed again over the face of the sheep. This is also a male penis. This is the head of the penis. This is the body of the penis and the scrotum right here. So you have the male and female reproductive system both hidden on this image. Okay, so you have the male reproductive system here as well as here. You have cumulatively the female reproductive system, and you have the face of a sheep. Here's the eye of the sheep and the eye of the sheep. Here's the nostril, and the mouth. These are the ears of the sheep going out. This is the fur of the sheep. It's a Mayan representation of a sheep. Now let me show you where this goes. So we showed this to you earlier in the presentation. I also showed you that there was an image of a devil that was superimposed over the face of the sheep. We just got through seeing this repetitively now. This is the image of that devil. He has wings. Here's the eye of the devil, the nose, the mouth. He has horns here and horns here. a horn on each side of his head, and his wings are also the female reproductive system. So we're going to take that and we're going to lay the devil right on the face of the sheep, right here like this. Now we have put the devil right on the face of the sheep, and we have the devil superimposed on the face of the sheep. Now I'm going to show you where the entire system came from. This is a pyramid again. This is from Guatemala. This is a museum that was actually built around this pyramid. This was sent to me from my father-in-law from Guatemala. As I enlarge it, you'll see an image right here on the base. This is a Mayan king wearing a headdress. The same image is over here on the side, I believe. And then I will leave that image there for a minute for you to see. I'm going to go ahead and turn the entire image upside down now. Isaiah said, "Woe unto them who go to great depths to hide their plans from the Lord, and their works are in the darkness. And they say, Who seeth us? Who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay." Okay, I've taken the entire image and I've turned it upside down. So now right here, you can see there is the image of the sheep that I was talking about that has a devil superimposed on it. I'll get it and I'll drag it into that folder. And here is the image of the sheep with the devil superimposed, and I'll drag it right onto it and set it down. There's the sheep, female reproductive system, male reproductive system, image of a sheep, and there's also cumulatively a serpent with the eye and the eye here coming down to the mouth of the serpent here. So the whole thing is also in the mouth of the serpent. Okay, before we moved on and showed you the commercials, I wanted to show you that we could take two pyramids from different parts of the world with hieroglyphs, and we could produce the identical agenda as a hieroglyph. As we could produce the identical agenda as the Vatican. So the Vatican, the building itself in the shape of a serpent, is the identical agenda as a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years before Christ, as well as a hieroglyph that's on a pyramid from Guatemala, and they all match the same agenda as a greeting card that was given to me, as well as several pictures that were drawn of me and given to me by people I know with the exact same agenda. We wanted you to see those before we moved on.